Commander Maya Ellis stood at the large window of the spaceship USS Sentinel. Her eyes were fixed on the damaged alien ship floating in the empty blackness of space. The ship belonged to the Vashir, aliens that humans had only met 3 months ago. Maya could see the many holes and burn marks on the ship's outer shell, signs of a recent attack. The Vashir were peaceful explorers. They had technology that was far more advanced than anything humans had built, but they only wanted friendship when they first contacted Earth. The meeting had gone well, and both sides were excited about working together. "Any signs of life?" Maya asked without taking her eyes off the broken ship. Lieutenant Alan Carter looked down at his screen, his fingers moving quickly across the controls. "Yes, Commander. The life signs are weak, but they're there. I can detect about 30 survivors." Maya nodded. "What about the ships that attacked them? Can we track them?" "They're Krell warships," Alan said, his voice growing serious. "They've moved to the edge of this star system, but they haven't left completely." Maya's face hardened at the mention of the Krell. Humans had met the Krell 2 years ago, and it had not gone well. The Krell were aggressive and viewed all new space-traveling species as threats. They either wanted to destroy these new species or control them. Earth had almost gone to war with the Krell before they managed to make a fragile peace agreement. "Open a call to Earth Command," Maya ordered. A few seconds later, Admiral Joe Franklin's face appeared on the main screen. He had gray hair and a face marked by years of difficult decisions. "What's your report, Commander?" he asked. "Sir, we found a Vashir ship that was attacked by the Krell. The Krell ships have pulled back for now, but the Vashir ship is badly damaged. They have survivors on board. I'm asking permission to help them." The Admiral frowned. "Permission denied, Commander. The Galactic Council has made a decision on this. They say the Vashir entered Krell territory without permission. The Council calls this a private matter between the Vashir and Krell, and no member worlds are allowed to get involved. Sir, with all respect, the Vashir say they were in neutral space. Their navigation data backs up their claim. The Council has decided to accept the Krell's claim about their borders. Every species with space travel has agreed not to interfere. Our peace treaty with the Krell is too important to risk." Maya looked at her first officer, Commander Sam Ross, who stood nearby. "So we just watch them die?" "Those are your orders. Commander, return to your regular patrol duties right away." When the call ended, Maya stood quietly for a long moment thinking. "Sam, how long until the Krell come back to finish killing the survivors?" 2 hours at most," Sam replied. Maya made her decision. "Get a rescue team ready. We're bringing those survivors onto our ship." Sam stepped closer and lowered his voice. "Maya, you heard what the Admiral said. Every species in the Council is staying out of this." "Then humans will stand alone," she said firmly. "I won't let innocent people be killed because of politics, not while I'm wearing this uniform." 6 crew members from the Sentinel boarded the damaged Vashir ship. They wore special suits to protect them in space. The inside of the alien ship was dark, with only emergency lights giving a faint blue glow. The air was thin because of damage to the life support systems. "Life signs are stronger this way," said Medical Officer Kelly Ward, pointing down a corridor. The team moved carefully through the ship. Parts of the ceiling had fallen down, and there were burn marks everywhere from weapon fire. They had to climb over broken pieces of the ship to move forward. "The Krell were thorough," said Security Officer Mike Ruiz. "They wanted to make sure no one survived. They found the first survivors in what looked like a science lab. 3 Vashir were huddled together, trying to keep warm as the ship's heating systems failed. The Vashir had silver blue skin that seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. They were about the same height as humans, but thinner, with large dark eyes that showed their fear." Kelly knelt beside them and activated her translator. "We're from Earth. We're here to help you." One of the Vashir, who seemed to be the leader, looked at the humans with surprise. "Earth? But the Council? They said no one would help us." "The Council doesn't speak for all humans," Kelly replied. "Our ship is nearby. We're going to take you to safety." As the team continued through the ship, they found more survivors. Some were injured badly and needed to be carried. The Bashir scientists had been trying to protect something, data stored in a special container that their leader, Kalan, refused to let go of. This is why the Krell attacked us, Kalian explained, as they made their way back to the rescue ship. We found something they wanted to keep hidden, something terrible. Back on the USS Sentinel, Maya watched as the last of the Bashir survivors were brought aboard. The ship's medical bay was full, with doctors and nurses working to treat the injured aliens. 32 survivors in total, Sam reported. Most will recover fully. And the Krell? Maya asked, still at the edge of the system. But they've sent a message to Earth demanding the return of the Bashir. They're calling them criminals. Maya's communicator beeped. It was Admiral Franklin. Again. And he did not look happy. Commander Ellis, what have you done? My job, sir. I rescued people who were going to be murdered. The Krell are threatening war, Commander. The Council has ordered Earth to hand over the Bashir and any humans who helped them. What are the Bashir guilty of, sir? What crime justifies leaving them to die? The Admiral didn't answer directly. Report back to Earth immediately, Commander. The President wants to speak with you personally. After the call ended, Maya went to the medical bay. Kalan, the lead Bashir scientist, was sitting up on one of the beds. He had a device in his hands, the data container he had protected so carefully. Your people risk much for mine, Kalan said softly. The others turned their backs when we brought our evidence to the Council. Why would humans alone choose to defend us? Maya thought for a moment. Throughout our history, we've learned the hard way what happens when good people do nothing in the face of cruelty. We're not perfect, we've made many mistakes, but we try to learn from them. Kalan held out the data container. Then you should see what we discovered. Why the Krell were willing to kill us all. Maya took the device and Kalan showed her how to activate it. Images appeared in the air. Records of planets, civilizations, species that Maya had never seen before. The Krell have been destroying worlds, Kalan explained. Any species that shows signs of developing space travel, they eliminate them before they can reach the stars. Maya stared at the evidence of multiple extinction events, all carefully hidden from the Galactic Council. How many? 17 civilizations in the past 100 years alone. Maya felt cold as the realization hit her. And Earth could have been next. Kalan nodded slowly. Now you understand why they wanted us silenced, and why your choice to save us may have just saved your own people too. The Sentinel turned and began its journey back to Earth. Maya knew she might face serious punishment for disobeying orders. But as she looked at the grateful faces of the Bashir survivors, she felt certain she had made the right choice. Sometimes doing the right thing meant standing alone, and sometimes standing alone changed everything. The meeting room in Washington, D.C. was filled with loud voices. President Diana Miller sat at the head of the large table, listening to military leaders and diplomats argue about what Commander Ellis had done. She directly disobeyed orders, shouted. General Paul Wright, his face red with anger. He hit the table with his fist. We can't allow our military to ignore the chain of command. And yet she saved 32 lives, said Dr. Lisa Johnson. She was calmer but just as firm. Dr. Johnson was an expert on alien biology and had been the first person to talk with the Bashir when they came to Earth. If Commander Ellis had followed those orders, the Krell would have killed all those people. Greg, Martinez, the Secretary of State, looked worried. The Galactic Council is demanding that we give them the Bashir survivors and Commander Ellis for trial. The Krell ambassador says this could be seen as an act of war. President Miller raised her hand, and the room went quiet. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. What do we know about why the Krell are hunting the Bashir? This seems too extreme, even for the Krell. Dr. Johnson touched a button on the table and a 3D image appeared in the air. It showed star maps and planets. The Bashir ship was a science vessel. From what they've told us, they found something in that area of space, something the Krell don't want anyone to know about. What did they find? Asked the president. Evidence that the Krell have been killing off other species across many star systems. They target any developing civilization before they can build ships to travel between stars. The Vashir found proof of this. The room went completely silent. Admiral Franklin, who had ordered Maya to leave the Vashir ship, spoke quietly. If this is true, Earth could be next on their list. President Miller stood up, her mind made up. We will not hand over Commander Ellis or the Vashir survivors. Instead, we're giving them protection here on Earth. Madam President, Martinez warned, every other species on the Council has abandoned the Vashir. We'll be standing alone against the entire Krell Empire. Then we stand alone, she replied firmly. Send messages to all our colonies and outposts. Tell them to prepare their defenses and get Commander Ellis on the line. Her rescue mission has just become our first line of defense. Far away, in orbit around the red planet Mars, Maya received the message from Earth. She felt mixed emotions, relief that she wasn't being punished, fear about what would happen next, but mostly a strong sense of determination. One of the Vashir scientists, Kilan, stood next to her on the bridge of the ship. His silver-blue skin reflected the red light of Mars below them. Your people risk everything for mine, he said softly. The others turned their backs when we brought our evidence to the Council. Why would humans alone choose to defend us? Maya thought carefully before answering. Throughout our history, we've learned the hard way what happens when good people do nothing while others are harmed. We won't make that mistake on a galactic scale. Back on Earth, people were being told about the situation. News channels showed pictures of the Vashir and explained what was happening. Some people were afraid, but most supported the president's decision. Humans had always been good at coming together when faced with a common threat. In underground bunkers, military leaders worked on plans to defend Earth if the Krell attacked. They studied the Vashir's information about Krell ships and weapons, looking for any weaknesses they could use. Their ships have strong shields, explained a Vashir engineer named Tellin to a group of human scientists. But there is a special frequency that can disturb these shields for a short time. Enough time for our weapons to get through? Asked one of the scientists. Maybe, said Tellin. But you must understand, the Krell don't just attack. They destroy completely. They've wiped out 17 developing civilizations in the last 100 years alone. Why haven't the other Council races stopped them? Asked another scientist. Fear. And some benefit from working with the Krell. They control access to certain rare materials. Some even believe the Krell's claim that preventing new species from reaching space keeps the galaxy more stable. Meanwhile, Maya was meeting with her crew on the USS Sentinel. They were discussing what to do next. The Vashir data shows evidence of Krell attacks in these star systems, she said, pointing to a map. If we can broadcast this information to the whole Galactic Council, they won't be able to ignore it. But the Council has already turned its back on the Vashir, said Lieutenant Carter. Why would they listen now? Because right now, it's easy for them to pretend they don't know what the Krell are doing, Maya explained. But if everyone sees the evidence, the Council members will have to take a stand, or admit to their own people that they support genocide. Sam Ross, Maya's first officer, looked concerned. The Krell won't just let us broadcast this information. They'll try to stop us. That's why we need to be ready for a fight, Maya said. But we also need to prepare the broadcast system. We'll need to reach as many worlds as possible all at once. Kalan stepped forward. We can help with that. The Vashir have technology that can boost your signals. If you can protect us long enough to set it up, we can make sure the truth is heard across the galaxy. Later that day, President Miller gave a speech to the people of Earth. Her image was shown on screens in homes, offices, and public places around the world. Citizens of Earth, I speak to you today about a grave situation. 3 months ago, we welcomed the Vashir, a peaceful species who came to us in friendship. Now they face extinction at the hands of the Krell, who wish to hide their crimes against developing civilizations. Every member of the Galactic Council has turned away from the Vashir. They have chosen political convenience over justice. But humanity will not. We will stand with the Vashir even if we stand alone. This will not be easy. The Krell are technologically advanced and have a powerful military. But throughout human history, we have faced seemingly impossible odds before, and we have learned that what matters is not the size of the force you bring to bear, but the rightness of your cause and the strength of your resolve. We stand now at a defining moment. The choices we make in the coming days will show not just the Krell, but all species in the galaxy who we are as a people. And I believe that when faced with injustice, humanity chooses to act. We are preparing our defenses. We are working with the Vashir to share technology, and we are reaching out to any members of the Council who might still have a conscience. This will be a dangerous time, but I believe that the people of Earth are ready to defend not just our planet, but the very principles of justice and compassion that make life worth living. As the president's speech ended, people around the world began preparing. Some volunteered for the defense forces. Others helped organize supplies or offered their homes to Vashir who had been brought to Earth's surface. On the USS Sentinel, Maya finished her own preparations. The ship had been upgraded with Vashir technology, making it faster and stronger than before. "How long until the Krell fleet reaches our solar system?" she asked. 3 days at their current speed, Sam replied. Maya nodded. "Then we have 3 days to get ready. Make sure the broadcast system is prepared. When the Krell arrive, I want the whole galaxy to see exactly what they're doing and what we're willing to do to stop them." As the crew rushed to follow her orders, Maya looked out at the stars. She knew they faced terrible odds, but sometimes standing up for what was right meant standing alone, and sometimes that was enough to change everything. Olivia Martinez wiped sweat from her forehead as she checked the large shield generator. The air was cold on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, but she had been working hard for hours. The mining colony here was never meant to be a military base, but now it had to be. "Will these shields actually work?" asked Ben Rivera, her assistant. He handed her a tool as they both looked at the massive machine. "Against normal attacks, yes," Olivia said. "Against whatever the Krell might throw at us?" She shrugged her shoulders. "I guess we'll find out soon." All across the solar system, humans were preparing for war. Earth's defense platforms, originally built to destroy dangerous asteroids, were being quickly changed to work as weapons. The moon base had new laser cannons installed. Even civilian ships were being fitted with basic shields and weapons. On Tyr, the USS Sentinel, now positioned near Earth, Maya worked closely with the Vashir survivors. Their chief scientist, Kalan, was showing her how Krell ships worked. "Their shields use a lot of energy," he explained, pointing to a 3D model floating in the air between them. "But there is a special frequency that can disrupt the shields for a short time." Lieutenant Carter nodded and made notes on his tablet. "Enough time for our weapons to get through?" "Maybe," said Kalan, "but you should understand. The Krell don't just fight to win. They fight to completely destroy their enemies. They've wiped out 17 developing civilizations in the past 100 years alone." Sam Ross looked up from his own screen. "Why haven't the other council races stopped them?" "Fear, and some benefit from working with the Krell, who control access to certain rare materials. Some even believe the Krell's argument that preventing new species from traveling in space keeps the galaxy more stable and peaceful." Maya's communicator made a beeping sound. "Commander, we're receiving a message from the lunar base. The Krell fleet has been spotted crossing Neptune's orbit. 6 large warships and many smaller support vessels." The room went quiet. Everyone looked at each other, the reality of what was coming suddenly very clear. "How long do we have?" Maya asked. "At their current speed, 3 days until they reach Earth." Kalan's large eyes reflected the starlight from the window. "We should not be here. Your people face destruction because of us." Maya put her hand on the alien's shoulder. "We face it together, and we're not finished yet." She turned to her crew. "Activate the Vashir broadcast system. It's time to show the entire council what the Krell are really doing." Back on Earth, final preparations were being made. In every major city, people were stocking up on food and water. Some families moved to underground shelters. Others chose to stay in their homes, watching the skies nervously. In schools, teachers tried to keep things normal for the children, but everyone knew this was not a normal time. 14-year-old Andy Peters looked out the classroom window instead. of paying attention to his math lesson. "Andy, please focus," said his teacher, Ms. Brown. "Sorry," he said. "I was just wondering if we'll still be here next week." Ms. Brown's face softened. "I understand your worry, but humans have faced difficult times before, and we've always made it through together. But we've never faced aliens with advanced technology," said another student, Lily Chen. "That's true," admitted Ms. Brown. "But think about what Commander Ellis did. One person stood up for what was right even when it was hard. Now the whole world is standing with her. That's what humans do best. We stand together when it matters most." On Mars, at the human colony there, people watched as military ships took position around the planet. Jack Miller, a farmer in the Mars colony, stood with his wife Karen outside their dome home, looking up at the ships. "Should we take the kids and try to get back to Earth?" Karen asked. Jack shook his head. "The president said to stay where we are. The military will try to protect all the colonies." "I'm scared, Jack." He put his arm around her shoulders. "Me too. But I think the president made the right call. If we handed over the Vashir, we'd just be next on the Krell's list. At least this way, we're fighting for something that matters." In Washington, D.C., President Miller met with her military advisors. The room was tense as they reviewed the latest intelligence. "The Krell fleet will be within striking distance in 72 hours, reported General Wright. "We've positioned our ships, as you ordered, with the main defensive force around Earth and smaller forces protecting the colonies." "What about the broadcast system?" the president asked. "Commander Ellis reports it's ready," said Admiral Franklin. "Once activated, it will send the Vashir evidence to every member world of the Galactic Council. But we can't be sure anyone will respond." "They'll respond," President Miller said firmly. "Maybe not the major powers at first, but there must be others who don't approve of the Krell's actions." "And if there aren't?" asked the Secretary of State. "Then humanity stands alone," she answered. "It wouldn't be the first time." On the USS Sentinel, Maya checked the final preparations for the broadcast. The Vashir had combined their technology with Earth's communication systems, creating something much more powerful than either could have built alone. "This will work, right?" she asked Kalan, who was making final adjustments to the equipment. "It will broadcast the evidence," he assured her. "Whether anyone chooses to listen, that is beyond our control." Maya nodded. She understood that they were taking a huge risk. The broadcast would tell the Krell exactly where they were, making the Sentinel a primary target. But if they could, show the galaxy what the Krell had been doing, the systematic destruction of developing civilizations, maybe some of the council members would finally take action. "How much longer until it's ready?" she asked. "A few more hours," Kalan replied. "We need to make sure the signal is strong enough to reach all council worlds." Maya's communicator beeped again. "Commander, the long-range sensors have picked up something new. A second group of ships has broken off from the main Krell fleet. They're on a direct course for Mars colony." Maya felt her stomach tighten. "They're splitting their forces to attack multiple targets at once. Should we warn Mars?" asked Lieutenant Carter. "Yes, and redirect some of our ships to reinforce their defenses," Maya ordered. "The Krell want to divide our forces." Sam Ross studied the tactical display. "If we spread our ships too thin, we won't be able to effectively defend any position." "I know," Maya said grimly. "But we can't abandon the colonies either." As orders went out to the fleet, Maya looked out at the stars. In 3 days, those peaceful points of light would be the backdrop for a battle that would decide the fate of humanity, and possibly many other species as well. "You're very quiet," Kalan observed, coming to stand beside her. "Just thinking about what's at stake," Maya replied. "Not just for us, but for every civilization the Krell might target next." "My people will never forget what humans have done," Kalan said. "When all others turned their backs, your species alone chose to stand with us." "Let's just hope we're still standing when this is over," Maya said. She turned back to the control room. "Time to make our final preparations. The Krell are coming, and we need to be ready." Across the solar system, humans and Vashir worked side by side, preparing for the battle ahead. They were outnumbered and outgunned, facing an enemy with far superior technology, But they had one thing the Krell didn't expect: the determination to stand up for what was right no matter the cost. As the final hours ticked away, Maya sent a message to all Earth ships. Remember why we fight, not just for our own survival, but for the right of all species to exist without fear. Stand firm, stand together, stand for what's right. The first shots of the battle were fired near Mars. The automated defense platforms, using targeting information from the Vashir, managed to disable 2 small Krell scout ships before being destroyed themselves. It wasn't a victory, but it bought Earth valuable time. On Earth, people watched their screens with worry and hope. For the first time in history, all nations were truly united against a common threat. Old enemies now worked together to protect their planet. Maya stood on the bridge of the USS Sentinel, watching as the main Krell fleet approached Earth. The enemy ships moved with perfect precision, like a well-practiced dance. The largest ship in the center was at least 5 times the size of the Sentinel. "All ships report ready, Commander," said Lieutenant Carter. Maya nodded. "And the broadcast system?" "Ready to activate on your command," replied Sam Ross. "Let's wait until they make the first move," Maya decided. "They may try to talk before attacking." She was right. Minutes later, the main screen lit up with an incoming transmission. The face that appeared wasn't what most humans had expected. The Krell looked almost gentle, with smooth blue-gray skin and large, intelligent eyes. But Maya knew appearances could be deceiving. "I am War Leader Kreth of the Krell Dominion," the alien said, its voice translated by the ship's computer. "Humans of Earth, you shelter criminals and defy the will of the Galactic Council. Surrender the Vashir and accept your place as a non-spacefaring species, or face total elimination." From the White House Situation Room, President Miller responded. Her voice was calm but firm. "We've seen the evidence of what you call accepting our place. We know you've destroyed 17 civilizations in the past century. Genocide is not peace. We stand with the Vashir, and we stand for the right of all species to exist." War Leader Kreth's expression didn't change. "Then you have chosen extinction." The transmission ended. Minutes later, the attack began. The Krell had expected an easy victory against what they thought was a primitive species. What they found instead was a desperate defense strengthened by Vashir technology and human creativity. The special frequency disruption worked, for a while, allowing Earth's ships to damage several Krell vessels before the enemy adapted. On the USS Sentinel, Maya coordinated the main defense fleet. The ship shook violently as enemy weapons hit. "Their shields. Shield strength down to 30%, Carter reported. "Focus all fire on their lead vessel," Maya ordered. "All remaining ships, execute pattern Delta." The human fleet moved with surprising coordination, focusing their attacks on weak points in the Krell formation. But the aliens' superior technology was making a difference. One by one, Earth's ships were disabled or destroyed. At the Mars colony, the situation was even worse. The smaller defense force there was being quickly overwhelmed. Jack Miller and his family huddled in an underground shelter with other colonists as explosions shook the ground above them. "Are we going to die, Dad?" asked his 10-year-old daughter, Emma. "No, honey," Jack said, hoping he wasn't lying. "Earth will send help." But Earth had its own problems. The Krell were systematically destroying the defense platforms in orbit. Only the ground-based shields were keeping the alien ships from directly attacking cities. On the Sentinel, Maya received desperate calls for help from multiple locations. "Commander," Sam called out, "the Vashir broadcast is active and sending on all frequencies, but there's no response from any council species." Maya frowned. The plan had been to broadcast the Vashir evidence to force the council to step in. "Keep transmitting. Someone has to be listening." As if in answer to her words, the ship's sensors suddenly lit up with new contacts. Multiple ships. "Entering the system," Carter shouted. "Configuration unknown." On the main view screen, a fleet of sleek ships appeared, their design unlike anything they had seen before. For a terrifying moment, Maya thought they faced a second enemy. Then a transmission came through. "This is Elder Shivna of the Rikari Defense Force," said a voice, as a new alien face appeared on screen. This one had green skin with small ridges, along the sides of its face. "We have received the Vashir evidence and verified its truth. The Krell's actions violate the founding principles of the Galactic Council. We stand with humanity." One by one, other ships appeared, representatives from species that had been neutral in council meetings. They weren't the major powers, but they were enough to make a difference. "The Krell have lied to us all," continued Elder Shivna. "They claim to be protecting galactic stability, but they have been eliminating potential rivals before they could even reach the stars. This ends today." The newcomers' ships moved to engage the Krell fleet. Their technology seemed to be at least equal to the Krell's, and the battle quickly turned. War Leader Kreth's voice came through on an open channel. "This is not your concern, Rikari. The humans have violated council directives." "No," replied Elder Shivna. "It is the Krell who have violated the most basic principle of sentient life, the right to exist. The humans chose to defend this principle when the rest of us were blind. We will not be blind any longer." On Earth, people cheered as they watched the battle turn in their favor. President Miller stood in the Situation Room, her face showing relief but also determination. "It's not over yet," she warned her advisors. "The Krell won't give up easily." She was right. The Krell, suddenly finding themselves outnumbered, changed tactics. Their largest ship broke away from the battle, heading directly for Earth itself. "They're going to try to attack the planet directly," Maya realized. "All available ships intercept that vessel." The Sentinel and 3 other Earth ships moved to block the Krell warship, but they were already damaged from the earlier fighting. "Our shields won't hold against another direct hit," Carter warned. Maya made a quick decision. "Route all power to forward shields and engines. We're going to ram them." "Commander, that's suicide," Sam protested. "Not necessarily," said Kalan, who had been quietly working at a console. "If we can match their shield frequency at the moment of impact, we might be able to penetrate their hull without destroying ourselves." "Can you do that?" Maya asked. "I believe so, yes." Maya nodded. "Then that's our plan. Helm, set course for their main propulsion system. Maximum speed on my mark." As the Sentinel accelerated toward the massive Krell warship, Maya sent a quick message to Earth. "This is Commander Ellis. We're attempting to disable the lead Krell vessel. If we don't succeed, be ready with your ground defenses. President." Miller received the message in the Situation Room. "What is she doing?" she asked, watching the tactical display as the Sentinel raced toward the much larger enemy ship. "I think she's going to ram them," Admiral Franklin said, his voice showing both concern and admiration. On the Sentinel, Maya watched as the distance to the Krell ship rapidly decreased. "Kalan, how close do we need to be to match their shield frequency?" "Very close," the Vashir scientist replied. "Almost at the moment of impact." Maya took a deep breath. "All hands, brace for collision." The Sentinel shot toward the Krell warship, like an arrow. At the last possible moment, Kalan adjusted their shields to match the enemy frequency. There was a blinding flash of light as the 2 ships connected. For a moment it seemed like time stood still. Then the Krell ship's engines flickered and died. The massive vessel began to drift, no longer under control. On the Sentinel, alarms blared as damage reports came in from all sections. But they were still in one piece. "We did it," Maya said, almost not believing it. "Status report. Hull breaches on decks 3 through 5, Carter reported. "Engines offline, weapons offline. But we're alive." Throughout the solar system, the tide of battle had turned. The Krell, seeing their flagship disabled and facing ships from multiple species, began to retreat. "They're running," Sam said, watching the tactical display. Maya nodded, allowing herself to feel relief for the first time. "Let them go. We've won this round, but the real fight is just beginning." As the Krell fleet withdrew from Earth's solar system, humanity began to assess the damage. Many ships had been lost. Parts of the Mars colony were heavily damaged. But they had survived. More importantly, they had shown the galaxy that some principles were worth fighting for, even against impossible odds. And they were no longer alone in that fight. 1 year after the battle with the Krell, Maya Ellis stood in the great meeting hall of the reformed Galactic Council. The huge room on the neutral planet Adaris was filled with representatives from over 40 spacefaring species. For the first time, humanity had a seat at this table. Maya looked around the room. The Krell delegation sat in a position of reduced status. Their empire was now under strict rules and watching after the full truth of their extinction program had been revealed. Many council members had been truly shocked by what the Krell had done. Others had simply found it politically useful to act shocked once the evidence became public. "The representative from Earth is recognized," announced the council speaker, a tall being with 6 arms. Maya stepped forward to the speaking platform. She wore her formal uniform, and her voice was calm and clear as she addressed the assembly. "Honored representatives, I come before you not as a warrior, although we were forced to fight, but as an explorer. Humanity's journey to the stars has taught us that having many different kinds of life, thoughts, and civilizations is not something to fear but to celebrate. The attempt to control which species may advance, which may explore, which may even exist, this is not the path to safety but to stagnation." She gestured to where Kalayan and the other Vashir survivors sat. "When we chose to defend the Vashir, we did not do so because humans are naturally heroic or more moral than others. We did so because we recognized in their situation echoes of our own history, times when the powerful decided who deserved to live." The room was silent as she continued. "Today, we propose the Formation Initiative, a program to find pre-spacefaring civilizations and protect their development rather than fearing it, to guide rather than restrict, to welcome rather than eliminate." The debate that followed was intense. Not all species were convinced. Old fears and prejudices didn't disappear overnight. But something fundamental had changed in the galactic order. After the meeting, Maya met with Kalan and the representatives from the smaller powers who had come to Earth's aid during the battle. "It will not be easy," warned Elder Shivna of the Rikari. The green-skinned alien's face showed concern. "The old powers will resist change, but they can no longer ignore it," Kalayan added. His silver-blue skin seemed to glow under the council chamber's lights. "When all others turned their backs, humans chose to defend us. That choice has created a new possibility for all species." Maya looked out at the stars visible through the council chamber's huge windows. Somewhere out there, thousands of civilizations were taking their first steps toward a future they couldn't yet imagine. She thought of Earth, how close they had come to destruction, and felt the weight of the path ahead. "We didn't just save your people," she said quietly to Kalan. "You saved ours too. You reminded us who we want to be. Back on Earth, changes were happening too." The technology shared by the Vashir and later the Rikari had transformed human society. New medical treatments were curing diseases that had once been fatal. Clean energy systems were replacing polluting power plants. And the first true colony ships were being built, designed to take humans beyond their solar system. In a classroom in New York, Ms. Brown was teaching her students about the events of the past year. The Battle of Earth, as it's now called, changed our place in the galaxy, she explained. "Before we were just one isolated species, now we're part of a larger community." Andy Peters raised his hand. "Is it true that Commander Ellis is now Earth's ambassador to the Council?" "Yes," Ms. Brown nodded. "She was chosen because of her role in defending the Vashir and revealing the Krell's actions." "What happened to the Krell?" asked Lily Chen. "Are they still dangerous?" "They still exist, but their military has been reduced and they're being watched carefully by the other Council species. More importantly, their leaders who ordered the extinction program are being put on trial." On Mars, Jack and Karen Miller stood outside their dome home, but this time they weren't looking up with fear. The colony had been rebuilt better than before, with Vashir and Rikari help. Their daughter Emma was playing with a Vashir child. The families of some of the survivors had relocated to Mars, finding its environment more comfortable than Earth's. "I never imagined our life would turn out like this," Karen said, watching the children. Jack smiled. "Me neither. But I'm glad we stood our ground. Sometimes doing the right thing, even when it's dangerous, leads to something better than you could have imagined." In Washington, D.C., President Miller was meeting with her advisors again. But the mood was very different from that tense meeting a year ago. The formation initiative has been approved by the council, she told them, her face showing satisfaction. We'll be leading the first contact team to the Narration system. Their civilization is approaching the development of faster-than-light travel. Are we sure about this? Asked Secretary Martinez, who had once been so worried about standing alone against the Krell. Taking responsibility for guiding a new species is a big step. Who better than us? Replied the president. We remember what it's like to be the newcomers, and this time they won't face the stars alone. On the newly commissioned ship, USS Unity, Maya prepared for her next mission. The vessel was the first, built with combined human, Vashir, and Rikari technology. It was designed for exploration rather than war, which suited Maya perfectly. Ready to depart, Ambassador? Asked Captain Sam Ross, her former first officer who now commanded the Unity. Almost, Maya replied. She was looking at a message on her screen, a personal note from Kalan, who had returned to the remaining Vashir colonies to help rebuild. Remember, when I asked why humans alone chose to defend us, he had written. I understand now. It is because you see in others the same right to exist that you claim for yourselves. This simple recognition, that all sentient life deserves the chance to reach for the stars, is changing the galaxy. The old powers called it dangerous. We now see it as the only path forward. Maya smiled and closed the message. I'm ready, she told Sam. Let's go introduce ourselves to the neighbors. As the Unity prepared to leave Earth's orbit, Maya looked back at her home planet. The blue-green world seemed smaller now, part of a much larger community. But that didn't make it less important. If anything, humanity's stand against the Krell had shown how much a single world could matter, how one choice to defend those who couldn't defend themselves could change everything. The stars waited, not as a battlefield this time, but as a frontier filled with new civilizations to meet, new allies to make, and new wonders to discover. And this time, no one would face that frontier alone. As the ship accelerated away from Earth, Maya thought about how it had all started, with a simple choice to help the Vashir when everyone else had turned away. Sometimes the most important moments in history didn't look important when they happened. Sometimes they just looked like one person doing what they believed was right. The Unity jumped to faster-than-light speed, and Earth vanished behind them. Ahead lay the future, and it was bright with possibility.